humming along. They're getting healthy. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Uh, so yeah, I see it. I see different layers of importance that can come from these last two games. And look, at the end of the day, if you end up losing them both, it's like, well, shit, we still got a playoff series to bounce back. So it's not the end of the world. But you want to have that extra edge. So Tampa comes into tonight's game on the second end of a back-to-back. They got beat last night by Dallas rather handily. I believe the final was 5-2. But Dallas was in control basically the entire game. They jumped out to an early lead and just kept churning. 2-1 lead became 3-1, became 4-1. It was interesting that Tampa started McElhaney instead of Vasilevsky last night. You would assume because Vasilevsky will be starting tonight against the Panthers. But, what if that backfires? So you wonder if Tampa's going to be what's going to be the factor that overrides the other. Are they going to be more tired or are they going to be more motivated? We'll see. A great sign for the Panthers is how healthy they are now. Carter Verhaeghe, Patrick Hornquist, Sam Bennett, Chris Driedger have all been practicing this week. Q said they're all expected back at some point before the playoffs start. So there's four guys. But, one or two of them, maybe three will be in there tonight. Obviously, Driedger is expected to start on Monday. So, you think maybe of Verhaeghe, Hornquist, and Bennett, maybe two of them crack the lineup today. We'll wait to see if we can get an update from Coach Quenneville during the show today, as it's kind of happened a few times already, right? Because they do the morning skates while we're on the air. We'll keep an eye on the old Twitter feed for that one. The morning lines, for what it's worth, it looks like Verhaeghe is going to be held out, and Hornquist may be held out, just based on the morning skate lines. You got Marchment up on that top line with Barkov and Duclair, and then Heponiemi on that third line instead of Hornquist. And that also gives Nikita Gusev an opportunity to stay in the lineup, but it looks like Denisenko might be the odd man out. Interesting. I will say between Heponiemi and Denisenko, well, both have looked a lot better. I would give Heponiemi the edge, which also interesting considering Denisenko has been skating on the top line. But, I just continue to try to be patient with Denisenko. Look, and credit to both of those guys, they have looked way better to this point than they did earlier in the season. I am encouraged, very encouraged, that we are seeing progress, that we're seeing them advance their careers a bit. So hopefully they continue on that path. And we've seen it also from Owen Tippett. His last couple of games have probably been the best he's played all year. He's hanging on to the puck. Like, I asked him, I want to say Monday or Tuesday of this week. It may have been after Monday's game against Dallas. No, I just asked him, like, is the game slowing down for you at all? Is it getting any easier? Obviously easier is not the right phrase, as it's not easy at all. But basically that's the question I asked. Is it getting any better? Is he feeling more comfortable out there? And he said the ability to hang on to the puck more is helping the game slow down for him, and it's helping him have the ability to make plays and to find his shot. So it's just kind of like hand in hand. So we'll see if it's a trend. Hopefully it is. You never know with the young guys, especially when they haven't really shown that level of consistency yet. But if this is Owen Tippett turning a corner, heading into the playoffs, wow. That's another notch there. And going back to the Tampa thought for a second with Stamkos and Kucherov, Stamkos has been in and out of the lineup this season. Kucherov hasn't been there because of the hip surgery in December. I believe it was December. The Panthers have been without Carter Verhaeghe for a while now. Hornquist has been in and out of the lineup for the last, 6 weeks? And yet the Panthers have actually been putting on, I think they've been playing better and more consistently. Not record-wise, it's been similar with Tampa, but when you look at the actual guts of the games, I've been watching a lot of Tampa hockey this year, and they just don't impress me the way that the last two seasons that Tampa has impressed me. They don't frighten me the way, and it could be because you're without those guys, But I'm just saying, like, I've had this conversation. I was talking to Steve Goldstein about it before practice the other day, and he's just like, they're a different team in the playoffs. They're a different team in the playoffs. I've heard several guys tell me this. It's like, that might be true, but that would also mean that they hadn't looked good. They hadn't looked as good the last couple of years in the regular season as they did in the playoffs, and I don't think that's true. I think you go back 2 years ago, they looked, they got swept in the first round, so they looked way better in the season than they did in the playoffs. But last year, they looked good both ways. They were great during the season, and they were great in the bubble. Maybe they will be great in the playoffs. Maybe they will turn it up another notch. But I haven't seen anything this season that make me believe that's going to happen other than getting the injured guys back, which may or may not happen and may or may not make a difference. So we'll see. So let's talk about Bobby Orsling. Gustav, put up the air quotes. Gustav Bobby Orsling Forsling. Who saw that coming? When Aaron Ekblad went down at the end of March in Dallas with the fractured bone in his lower left extremity, leg, ankle, whatever. Here comes Gustav Forsling, training camp waiver wire pickup, and stepped into that role. Man, I mean, you're not going to fill the skates of an Aaron Ekblad. There's only, maybe a handful of guys in the entire league that could do that. Maybe. But to go into that top pairing, to take on all those minutes, to take on those tough assignments, and to produce and perform at both ends of the ice, I just, maybe this is the law of averages finally catching up to the Panthers in a good way. For all of the BS that's happened over the last 20 years, finally things are starting to come up aces for the Panthers. And maybe the thing that kind of tipped the scales in the other direction was Bill Zito, because he's, his signature's been on so many of these moves. But man, I mean, as often as Forsling is able to jump up into play and help push the offense and push the pace that Quenneville wants to have, he doesn't really get caught that much. And I get that that's also, gets attributed to the forwards being responsible and knowing when they have to keep an eye on the back line. But, yeah, it's great. The only thing I have that I would really say needs to be worked on a bit more with Forsling, and this is just my opinion based on, what I'm seeing from games, but it looks like the communication, it's something that I've kind of talked about with him since the beginning, probably before Ekblad's injury. And it's not as noticeable for me as it was, but there are some instances where I feel like maybe there's a communication issue out there. Last game, you'll remember that funky goal where Uyghur kind of had the puck in the corner and didn't know a guy was on him from behind and shot it off. Forsling kind of tipped off him and went through Knight's legs. It was just, the really weird goal. Like, it looked like when the puck went from Forsling to Uyghur, there wasn't really any heads up for that. And then also nobody let Uyghur know that there was a guy coming up right behind him, which led to the turnover / own goal, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I get it that I could be getting super picky, but that's how good Forsling has been. That you kind of have to get super picky if you're going to find any issues with this kid's game. So the fact that he's not only maintained that solid level of play, that ascending play since Ekblad's been hurt, but he's actually it's gotten better. And that's actually especially true with Mackenzie Weegar. Speaking of that, I mean, Weegar, he's been ascending pretty solidly for the last couple of years. This year, being paired up with Ekblad just kind of took it to another level. And, well, again, the way I said it, right? Being paired up with Ekblad. But not really, because Ekblad gets hurt, and Weegar does not skip a beat. Like, man. It's a 7th-round pick. He was like the 3rd or 4th from Mr. Irrelevant, or whatever they call it in hockey. And look what he's doing. We haven't seen the peak with Weegar yet. And what I really like about Mackenzie Weegar, like, he backs up his play. He's a little quick-tempered, but the fact that he's so reliable to back up his players, to physically get their back. It's the kind of, leadership maybe not be the right word, more just kind of the reliability of being that great teammate. What the impression that you got from like an Eric Goodbranson back in the day, where like you got that physical element of being, getting your boys back no matter what, like a Sean Thornton type of guy. You have that element from Weegar, and I love that from him. I love that edge. He most of the time he seems to have it under control. Sometimes when something dirty happens and he flies off the handle a little bit, you know what? You forgive that, because if the play warrants, if whatever happened to his teammate warrants it. And the last one I can really think of, it was actually somebody backed up, got ahead of Weegar, and that was when Sam Bennett went after whoever it was that hit Duclair. I think it was in Columbus, whatever it was, like a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it's a good spot to be in. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll get into my chirp of the week. We'll talk a little bit more about this goalie situation going on, and perhaps take a trip around the pond as the playoff races are everything's done. It's locked up, but there's still some work to be done in the Central Division. Hey, Heat and NBA fans, catch Ira Winderman here exclusively at OnsideRadio.com with our Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat reports. Catch Ira throughout the week at OnsideRadio.com, and when news breaks, basketball fans know Onside Radio is the place you get the insight you need.
You're listening to Chirping the Cats Radio with David Dwork. Take Onside Radio, your home for soccer everywhere, with a MyTuner radio app. Find the app at OnsideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk.
I'm Ryan Seacrest. First responders are people who stand for a greater purpose. They will be there for you when nobody else is, to help you, your family, your community. This is their selfless promise. This is their sworn duty, to protect, to serve, to help. They put themselves in harm's way for us. They come to the rescue at times when we need them most. First responders are making enormous personal sacrifices to keep showing up for us and fighting the good fight. Nearly 70% of all firefighters are volunteers. That means when they get injured or quarantined, they may not have a way to pay their rent or keep their family safe and fed. No matter who you are or where you live, when you call 911 and ask for help, first responders show up. Now, let's show up for the people who show up for us every day and every night.
Go to firstrcf.org and make a difference today.
When you want a perfectly straight smile without braces, you can count on MoodieAsDental.com. A stunning smile is within reach. Learn more about Invisalign. Find out why so many trust the Moody-Ass family. Dr. Moody-Ass is an inventor and has several patents on innovative surgical instruments that are used around the world. Experience a family environment and trust on a worldwide level. From implants to crowns to a beautiful Invisalign smile. Call 305-821-0231. That's 305-821-0231. Or go to the website at MoodyAsDental.com.
If you missed NBA insider Ira Winderman and the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report, you missed this.
And he said, if you're going to look at my stats, I probably don't measure up. You have to watch our games. You have to watch how I'm switching out to any offensive threat, taking on every single challenge during a game. That is not something that Rudy Gobert is doing with Utah. He's not jumping out on the opposing point guard. That's not even something that Ben Simmons is doing for the 76ers. He's not jumping out on every opposing center. So Bam is more of an eye test than any metrics that you can come up with to try to justify him as Defensive Player of the Year. I think he has a very good case. But I also believe that the standings matter, that your team's record matters, and the bottom line is this. Rudy Gobert has his Utah Jazz at the top of the West and the top of the NBA. Ben Simmons has his 76ers much better positioned in the Eastern Conference than Bam does. That matters also.
The Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat report with NBA insider Ira Winderman, exclusively at OnsideRadio.com.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
Welcome back to Chirping the Cats Radio. To reach out to David, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Here's Florida Panthers insider David Dwork.
You can now listen to Onside Radio anywhere and subscribe to your favorite podcast by downloading the radio.net app. Download radio.net in your app store. Search Onside Radio, where the South Florida sports fan calls home. Okay, so something cool that I found out yesterday at practice. I spoke to Noah Chari and asked him for a little insight into the locker room because, we're not allowed down there this year. The media is being kept at a distance because of COVID, Zoom protocols, and all that good stuff. So I asked Noah Chari if they have a victory song this year, and he told me that, yes, they do. That when they get a big win and all the players come charging into the locker room, pumped up from 2 big points, this is playing in the background. The cranberry juice is flowing. So, I know you guys have been asking me on Twitter and on social what the victory song is this year. There you go. Fleetwood Mac, Dreams. That's, I think that's awesome. I think, the way it went viral with the dude on the skateboard drinking the cranberry juice, and the Panthers have kind of picked up that. I think it's pretty topical and fun, and I'm glad that Noel Achari was kind enough to indulge and give us a little insight. I thought that was pretty cool. All right, I've got a quick chirp of the week, and then we'll do Around the Pond right after. But, Abel, are we good to go? Let's do it. Let's do a little chirping.
Hey, son, you're a disappointment to your parents.
What are you doing?
Working on my trash talk.
It's time for the Chirp of the Week.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're gonna hear about it.
You can pick the hand I beat the out of you with. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I don't think so. That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
That's so funny. Last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
All right, so it's a happy chirp. It's happy. It's exciting. It's just kind of like I want to get on the top of a mountain and scream a little bit because we finally get a Panthers Lightning playoff series. And I know I talked about it earlier, but I want to kind of make it in bold and italicize and underline and increase the font size, and because this is big. And I want to emphasize the importance of this. We've been waiting for a long, long time for this cross-state rivalry that has kind of felt forced at times because they've never both been good at the same time. It's kind of something to look up, but it wouldn't be that hard to see how many times they made the playoffs the same year. I think, oh man, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Probably, 2016, 2012, maybe, 2000, probably not, 96, 97, no, maybe 95, 96. I mean, either way, you get my point, right? It's never felt like I don't know, like Dolphins Jets. That's a rivalry, right? Heat Knicks. That's a rivalry. Panthers Lightning? Maybe now. These teams could play each other 9 times over the next 2 weeks with the Stanley Cup playoff advancement on the line. Oh, man. And I kind of have a feeling that these next 2 games could very much feel kind of like playoff preseason type deal. For, home ice advantage, they might downplay it in the media, but you want game 1 at home, and you really want game 7 at home. And this is a series you could absolutely see going 7 games. One thing I'm going to be curious about is what's the fan travel situation going to be? It's only a 3-hour drive. And for most of you guys down in Miami-Dade County, it's probably like a 2-hour drive. I don't know how hard tickets will be to come by, but the secondary market always exists. Obviously, you know, less tickets, prices get inflated, you know, cost of doing business, I guess. But, you know, the playoffs are the playoffs. If you can afford to travel, you're going to do it. And that's the thing. You don't really have to do anything but drive. You get a little carpool together and make it that much easier. So I'm really curious to hear how many Tampa fans are going to make the trip down here and how many Panther fans are going to head up Alligator Alley. Well, the division is kind of shaken out, so I guess this would be our last Around the Pond as we talk about what's happening in the division. But are we ready to do a little skating, Abel? This guy, I swear to God, man, every week I come in.
Lace up your skates. It's time to go around the pond on Chirping the Cats Radio.
I swear, every week I come in and I feel like Abel is juggling more and more. Like, you know how you see a guy juggling sometimes and then they'll throw another ball in and then they'll throw another ball in and then the next thing you know, the guy's juggling like 10 things? That's Abel on the other side, doing an amazing job. But yeah, so Around the Pond, here we are, and the ESPN music is playing. So, you know, we've talked about it already, Florida and Tampa fighting for home ice and all that stuff. What's really going to be fun to see shake out is going to be this battle for the fourth place spot, the last playoff spot, between Nashville and Dallas. Still fighting for that last spot in the Central Division. Nashville has 60 points, and they have the edge right now. Dallas 2 points back. Both teams have 2 games left, so it's just a race to see who can finish with more. Actually, you know what? I totally forgot to check the tiebreaker. Who's got more regulation wins? And it looks like the answer. Oh yeah, it's Nashville. Dallas. Yeah. It's crazy that Nashville has 29 wins and Dallas is 22. That's wow. So Nashville finishes with 2 games at finishes. Nashville finishes with 2 games at home against the Carolina Hurricanes, so obviously that's going to be tough. Although Carolina did lock up the Discover Central Division last night with Tampa's loss against Dallas. So the Carolina Hurricanes are the champions of the Discover Central Division. They will get home ice in at least the first 2 rounds of the playoffs and 4% interest on all Discover charges through the end of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So good for them. That last part was a joke. At least I think it is. So yeah, Nashville's home for Carolina, 2 games, and then Dallas is 2 games in Chicago. So, you know, 2 teams, neither of which has, you know, a ton to play for at this point. So you wonder how it shakes out. Is the return of Tyler Seguin going to be the boost that sets Dallas over the top in this situation? I've been saying for a while that I thought Dallas was going to come back and take that 4th playoff spot. I did not think Nashville was going to have the run that they had. Now they've got the edge going into these final 2 games. I don't know. It should be fun either way. And hopefully whoever does make it goes in on a high note and gives Carolina a good run for their money, because should the Panthers take out the Lightning, they're facing the winner of that series in round 2. It's a lot of fun, man. Hasn't it been fun the last couple weeks not having to really stress about making the playoffs? Just watching everybody else scurry about while the Panthers sip their pina colada and just wait and find out who they are going to play as they continue winning and winning. Was it 4 straight at the moment? Good times. On the other side, Eric Erndlson covers the Lightning. We're going to talk to him all about that series. Before I hit the break in a minute, I did want to talk a little bit about the Panthers goalie situation heading into the playoffs. I've been getting a lot of questions from fans. I've been getting questions in interviews. Obviously, the main question has just totally cast aside the guys that got you there all year. Just all anybody wants to know is Spencer Knight going to play? Spencer Knight, is he going to be the starter? Can Spencer Knight get in? Like, read Spencer Knight. Settle down. It's amazing what Spencer Knight has done. 4 games, 4 wins, youngest goalie in NHL history to do that. The future could not be brighter with Spencer Knight. He's probably not going to play in the playoffs. Okay? Just saying. He's probably not going to play in the playoffs. Bob and Drieger are both healthy. It would take I mean, if they're both healthy, I don't see how it's happening. Just, I don't think either of them, let alone both of them, are going to falter like that. Bob could Bob. When I say, Bob could do what he's been doing, I think Bob starts game 1. I think if Bob plays well, we'll see. Here's the thing, and I'm going to ask Coach Quenneville about this sometime before the playoff starts. Like, is it possible that he rotates goalies? Could he do Bob game 1, Drieger game 2, and just do something like that? Kind of like he has been the last couple of weeks? The only way I see Spencer Knight entering the equation is if 2 things happen. Number one of Bob or Drieger gets hurt, and the one who is healthy plays poorly. It's a simple situation. Again, you're not going to expect a goalie to get hurt like that, and you're not going to expect somebody to play poorly. At least if it does come to that, obviously there's a huge confidence. There are teams that will struggle to go into the playoffs with 2 solid, winnable goaltenders. Okay? The Panthers have 3. It's a ridiculous embarrassment of riches in the Panthers goaltending room right now. Oh, yeah, and then they've got this Devin Levi kid coming up, too. He's pretty good. Man, oh, man. It's amazing how, like, when you think about the last month or so, last several weeks with the Panthers, they've basically they've been without 1 or 2 of their top line players. They've had to go 3 goalies deep. 3 goalies deep. And they haven't skipped a beat. They haven't stumbled at all. What does that say about your Florida Panthers and their depth and the team that they've built? And it's not all Bill Zito, because some of the guys have been around from the Dale Talon era. But, man, like, you got to feel good about it. Like I said before, like, maybe this is finally the law of averages turning over in favor of the Panthers. All right, on the other side, I've been teasing it. Eric Erlinson, LightningInsider.com. I'm really excited to talk to Eric. He's like, the Tampa Bay Lightning, he's been covering them forever, like 2 decades. And I've been following him on Twitter for a while, so I'm excited to chat with him. Hey, did you know that you can watch Onside Radio daily by subscribing to our YouTube and Twitch channels? Search Onside Radio, log on, subscribe, rate, and review Onside Radio on YouTube and Twitch. OnsideRadio.com is South Florida's home for real sports talk.
You're listening to Chirping the Cats Radio with David Dwork. Take Onside Radio, your home for soccer everywhere, with a MyTuner radio app. Find the app at OnsideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk.
Hey, it's Big O for EJD Construction, your custom home builder, additions and home remodeling. Our lives have changed. We're making our homes more of an oasis. Call the right place. Call the right people. Eric at EJD Construction for over 16 years. A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
This Sunday, Inter Miami CF hosts Atlanta United FC at Drive Pink Stadium. Join OnsideRadio.com as our broadcast starts at noon, live from Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. Our pregame show starts at noon. Game time is at 1 p.m. Listen to all the games by going to our website at OnsideRadio.com and downloading any of our apps. Follow Inter Miami CF all year long on your home for football. OnsideRadio.com.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud,
WLESPN. Broadcasting from a largely empty building. And we do sports. It's just not local. Shush, honey. Why is the building empty? Because whether it be budget cuts or stupid management, we fired almost everybody. Ooh, but we still have our job nice and local. At least the building is. We've got your sports.
South Florida's choice for sports talk. OnSideRadio.com.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. And with daily specials, there is something for everyone. If you're up for a challenge, you should take their famous boot tour. Finish 30 boots of different varieties of German beer, and you'll receive half price on their beer for life. And you'll get to take home your own boot and Checkers Old Munchin t-shirt. They also have outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music, as well as carry-out, curbside pickup, and delivery. So, for the finest German food and beer, get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations at 954-785-7565. That's 954-785-7565. We'll see you at Zagat-rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach.
BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle Fighting Series presents BYB 5. Saturday, May 15th at the Fair Expo Center at Tamiami Park. Meet Dada 5000. See bare knuckle brawlers fight live in BYB's patented triangle ring, the Trigon. The smallest and most confrontational ring in combat sports. Early action includes slap fights as seen on YouTube. Buy your tickets now at BYBtickets.com for BYB 5. Saturday, May 15th. Doors open at 6 p.m. BYB is proudly sponsored by BMCHam.com. Your choice for gold and silver. BMCHam.com. Welcome back to Chirping the Cats Radio. To reach out to David, send a text to 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's David Dwork.
Saturdays from 1 to 3 p.m., baseball fans can go deep into the count with Alex Aguirre and Christian Chase. Catch the show that talks Marlins and all the big stories from the major leagues. Every Saturday from 1 to 3, Seam Heads have a new home. Listen to Deep in the Count exclusively at OnSideRadio.com. All right, I want to get right into it here because I've been looking forward to this chat for a while now. Panthers Lightning, we found out yesterday, it's definitely happening. It's the playoff series that hockey fans in Florida, I think, have been waiting for a while. So let's welcome Eric Erlinson from LightningInsider.com. He's been covering the Tampa Bay Lightning for, 2, 3, 4 decades, for a long time now. Good morning, Eric. Thank you so much for taking a little time with me today.
Good morning, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm pretty excited for, I guess, this pre-playoff series that we have this weekend to see who gets home ice. And finally, the first time in a long time that we're finally going to get this series. From your perspective as a Lightning fan, I know how Panthers fans are looking at it, but from your perspective on the Tampa side, how is this playoff series finally happening look for you guys?
Oh, it's exciting. I think it's great for the state of Florida and hockey in the state of Florida that these two teams that, have been around since the Panthers came in '93. They've been in the same division the entire time they've been in the league, and it's amazing to sit back and think that they've never made or never played in a playoff series. I mean, heck, they've only made the playoffs in the same year 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure that out.
And in '96, obviously they made it, and in 2016 when Florida got upset by the Islanders, we got so close to that second round meeting back then. But yeah, I think it's great. I've been looking forward to this. We've talked about it quite a bit up here for a number of years, what it would look like and how it would feel to have these two teams meet in the playoff series. All the years of the forced rivalries, right? The Governor's Cup, the Florida Blue Cup, everything. Now it's real. Now it's a playoff series. Now this is when the rivalry starts to build.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty, I got to ask you first thing at the front of many people's minds, Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov, they've been practicing, and it's been kind of, I think, expected, whether you're a Florida hockey fan or just a general hockey fan, that they'd both be in the lineup when the playoffs arrive. It looks like it's trending that way. What are you seeing from practice?
We'll certainly get a much better idea next week practice, and let's face it, this team hasn't practiced a ton. It's not quite the Dallas Stars schedule and what they've had to go through, but the Lightning have had a pretty compressed schedule of their own because they were one of the teams that was affected twice by Dallas's schedule situation. So, but they did have a practice earlier in the week. Both of them were out on the ice. It's certainly trending that both of them are going to appear. I think actually you'd probably say Kucherov is probably more likely that he'll be back maybe for game one. Stamkos is trending that way, and he sounds optimistic about it. But I think at the end of the day, I think we'll see both of these players in the series. We'll just not know for sure if it'll be game one until we get to practice next week.
And there's really no way to tell, particularly with Kucherov, just how you would think that they're going to get back in there and do their thing. But especially with a hip injury, it's never quite certain how that recovery is going to go. And you just wonder, assuming that they're going to come in, are they going to be those dominant guys? Do you think that that's going to be the case, or is it still too early to tell?
It's early to tell because, again, not a whole lot of practice time. I mean, Kucherov's been back with the team on a regular basis for morning skates and stuff like that for about the last 3-4 weeks or so. But these are also highly elite players, right? Like, it's not like they're just kind of stepping back into an unfamiliar territory. It'll take a little bit for the timing. That's the first thing you look for players coming back from an extended time off injury. And then the hockey shape. Like, as you know, there's nothing you can do to replicate hockey in practice and scrimmages, anything, until you get into a game. So those are the two areas you have to look for. But again, highly elite athletes in this game. Braden Point came off of it last year, off of summer surgery, showed up in Game 3 of the regular season and ended up with a 3-point night. So, these are just highly skilled guys that it might take a shift or two for them to feel comfortable, but they'll get it back pretty quick.
Now, something that I feel like I've noticed with the Lightning this year, just from watching a lot of Tampa hockey, they haven't seemed as dominant of a team as we've seen from Tampa the last 2 seasons. And I don't know if that's because Kucherov has been out and they, in and out of the lineup with Stamkos, or what you could really attribute to that. I just feel like they haven't really frightened me the way that Tampa has frightened me the last couple of seasons. Is that something that you've noticed as well? And is it something that maybe they could turn up when the postseason begins?
It's certainly not the same. I think Kucherov's absence has something to do with that when you take an MVP out of your lineup, especially on the power play. I mean, their power play when they're all healthy is as lethal as any in the league with the way they can move the puck around the zone. So, you do miss that element with Nikita Kucherov out. The other thing is, I don't think people understood how important a guy like Kevin Shattenkirk last year was to this team. He really found a niche for the Lightning last year and really rounded out the right side of their D. Until they acquired David Savard, they were big-time question marks about the right side of their D once you got past Eric Chernak. You had Jan Ruda, you had Cal Foote, the rookie, and you had Luke Shen were your only options really on the right side. So they really had some holes there to fill with Savard in, and we've seen it with the exception of last night against Dallas, where defensively they've really kind of got back to that identity they showed in the postseason where, they have the puck possession game, they get the forecheck established, they maintain the puck in the offensive zone, and that's when they can kind of create. And one of the strengths of this team, especially in the playoffs last year, is their depth. And, you can try and slow down Braden Point's line, you can maybe match up against Sorelli's line, but then you've got the Yanni Gourde line, which was so effective in the postseason last year. So that's where their strength is. And maybe they haven't been as dominant, but they have that depth that they could do it if they can find their game, which they started to show signs of earlier this week.
Yeah, one part of Tampa's game that I feel like has not really skipped a beat, and that's something that they do exceptionally well in the offensive zone, is they move the puck so well that they seem to score more backdoor tap-in goals than any team I've seen in the last few years. And that's the part of their game that I'm really impressed with. And you have to think that with, getting healthier and getting that depth, getting that ascension from the blue line, or that production from the blue line, it's only going to help them do that.
Yeah, and with Victor Hedman and Mikhail Sergachev, two of the top offensive style defensemen, or at least offensive guys that can join the rush and chip in offensively that way, it certainly helps. And a big part of their game plan is, too, that if they're, once they gain the zone, if they're not dumping the puck in and playing that dump and chase game, which they can do, you'll see a lot of guys basically get to the circle, pull up, and look for that second wave, right? Because that's what they want to establish. They want to make sure, you hear the cliche, it's a 5-man unit. Well, that's what they really want to push. Their D are pretty aggressive in terms of coming up the ice and being that second wave. Eric Chernak has really established that part of his game this year as well, and that is a big part of their offense, and that is where you get some of that backdoor capabilities and some of those backdoor plays that they can set up.
Now, another element of Tampa's game, probably maybe the most dominant, is goaltending. I think Andrei Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the world right now, and there's really not a whole big argument to that, in my opinion. Do you think this series is just going to come down to how well he can play? Because there's been times this year that he's really carried Tampa, and that's why I think he's going to win the Vezina Trophy.
Yeah, I think he might be as close to unanimous with the way he's performed this year. I mean, you look at leading the league in goal or wins. He's right up there in shutouts. Rick Bowness caught the brunt of much of that, the former Lightning assistant coach in Dallas, as he shut them out 3 times this year. But yeah, I mean, your goaltending has to be your backbone, and he's a pretty good guy to have back there. You think about the playoffs he had last year. Like, you never had to stand on his head, quote unquote. But he was there more than a few times. That 5 overtime game against Columbus, I think he actually stopped the shorthanded breakaway chance in one of the overtime sessions to keep that game tied and keep it moving. Did the same against the Islanders a couple times in the Eastern Conference Final. He is a difference maker. He's a game breaker from the goalie position. That's how good he is and what he can do. Some of the saves he comes up with, and there is no goalie in the league that moves quicker laterally from post to post than Andrei Vasilevsky, and that's a big reason why he can be so effective. You talk about backdoor plays. He can shut a lot of those down because, I mean, he's got like Gumby legs. Yeah. It's incredible to watch him stretch across the goal mouth at times with the amount of ice that he can cover and get over, and that's a big strength of his game. But he is absolutely, if he doesn't win the Vezina this year, it'll be a shock.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think he might kind of poke his nose in and around the Hart Trophy conversation, although I think with Vasilevsky, the way he's kind of dominated the Vezina, it seems like Connor McDavid might be a shoo-in for the Hart Trophy based on what he's done.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another time. This is Eric Erlinson from LightningInsider.com joining me this morning. Eric, the last thing I really want to ask you, from a Lightning perspective, did the Panthers scare you at all? From what you've seen this season going, how much are the Panthers a concern from a Stanley Cup champion point of view?
Absolutely they are. I mean, you look at the depth that the Panthers have now. It used to be that if you could slow down Barkov, and at the time Mike Hoffman when he was there, if you could slow down them, you probably had a pretty good chance of winning the game just because they didn't have the depth. And now you look at what they've done, especially the acquisition of Sam Bennett has really kind of bolstered them, in their depth area. And look, they play a much more, from what I can see, controlled game. Like Joe Quenneville has them playing that type of hockey to where, they would turn the puck over. It's a little bit of a similar formula to Tampa Bay. The year they set all those offensive records and the wins record in 2019, they were prone to turnovers, and a lot of times they could score themselves out of trouble. It was once they got into more of a control game, understanding that, winning 3-2 is a lot better than trying to win 5-4. So that was an area of concentration. And that's one thing that I've noticed in their game this year is that they don't turn the puck over as much. And when you don't turn it over, you don't put yourself in the bad situations, you're going to give yourself an opportunity to win the game. And with the depth they have with Carter Verhaeghe, obviously we're very familiar with him up here breaking out this year as he has. It's really just kind of bolstered this Panthers team. And absolutely, I mean, their record is no fluke. I mean, they have taken care of what they need to take care of in this division this year. And do I think Tampa Bay is probably going to be favored? Yeah, but it's not going to be maybe if this had happened last year in the postseason. I think that this is going to be a fun matchup. And we just talked about Vasilevsky. I think it comes down to goaltending. And I don't want to say Florida has goaltending issues, but they do have question marks, right? Like, How good is Bobrovsky going to be? If he can't handle the load, do you go to Chris Driedger or do you go to Spencer Knight? So, again, not issues with Florida goaltending, but I think there are question marks there.
No, that's going to be – I'm very curious to see how that plays out as well. I was talking about it earlier in the show. Could Q possibly just rotate goalies regardless? How quick would he pull the plug on Bob? There are some questions to be answered. But Eric Erlinson, I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning and giving some insight into the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can follow Eric on Twitter. You can join his website, lightninginsider.com, for all of his great and amazing information. Eric, thank you again so much for joining me, man. Have a great Saturday.
Thanks, David. I appreciate the time.
All right, buddy. That was Eric Erlinson, and that was great, man. So much awesome information on the Lightning, as the Panthers are going to be seeing a lot of Tampa Bay over the next few weeks. Hey, over the last 30 years, South Florida fans have always been able to count on one radio show that gives you the brutal honesty you need. Orlando Alzagari and the Onside Zone is daily from noon to 3 p.m. exclusively at OnsideRadio.com.
You're listening to Chirping the Cats Radio with David Dwork. Take Onside Radio, your home for soccer everywhere, with a MyTuner radio app. Find the app at OnsideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk.
When protecting your family is your priority, there's nothing more important than the roof above the people you love. At Onside Radio, we recommend Chase Roofing and Contracting. At ChaseRoofing.com, they care about the customer. Chase Roofing provides reliable roof installation and repair without the destruction to our environment. Chase Roofing is powered by Tamara, who is owner and operated for 18 years. ChaseRoofing.com is Google top rated and a AAA standing with the Better Business Bureau. Open 24/7. Call them today. Trust ChaseRoofing.com to fortify and protect what's most important to you, your family.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. If you missed Omar Kelly and the Miami Dolphins report sponsored by EJDconstruction.com today, you missed this.
The players sold their soul for the ability to smoke weed, larger salaries for rookies, knowing that the 17th game was a major component that's going to lead to a huge, tremendous jump in the television contract. So they sold their soul, play the game. You'll get 3 preseason games instead of 4. Ultimately, you're playing 20 games. So you signed up for it, so don't be mad when owners opt into it, which they have every right to do.
Omar Kelly and the Miami Dolphins report, brought to you by EJD Construction. Count on a company that's an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. EJDconstruction.com.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
These are unprecedented times. Challenging how the YMCA works to strengthen community as we have for nearly 170 years. But we've always found ways to help people and communities in times of crisis. Right now, Ys across the country are providing emergency childcare, shelter, food programs, and outreach to seniors. But we can't do it alone. Whether you're connected to the Y or have a fond Y memory, we need you to stay with us. Reach out to your local Y today and stay with us for a better us.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam, ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
What do sports radio AM stations sound like to us? The same as they sound to you. South Florida's choice for sports talk. OnSideRadio.com. Welcome back to Chirping the Cats Radio. To reach out to David, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Here's Florida Panthers insider David Dwork.
Onside Radio is on the move. Take us in your car, on a jog, listen at work. Don't tell your boss. Anywhere you go. All you have to do is download the radio.net app, go to your app store, download and search Onside Radio, South Florida sports station. All right, let's get right into crosstalk. Austin Robillard is here sitting aside or across from me. Okay, so Inter Miami, a very solid game, surprisingly good last week. No Higuain's.
Right.
Pretty much no Robbie Robinson. We're just saying, like, the one impact play he made while he was in there was quashed away by the official. No Figal again. And you get out of Nashville with a draw.
I'm delighted.
Right?
I mean, it wasn't a game that, even if everybody was healthy, it's not a game that I'm really expecting them to do well, especially how Nashville was playing offensively going into that game. I was expecting a lot worse. And then with the injuries, it was like, okay, I'm really going to have to manage my expectations because of, our best players are out. Figal was one of our best defenders. He goes out right away. Federico Higuain made the impact against Philly. Robbie Robinson has been my favorite player on the season so far leading up to that point. So with all of them out, it was like, you know what?
And Pizarro hasn't been Pizarro yet.
Right. And he was also on 1 day's training because he was in Mexico getting his green card. So all these different variables, and you come out of there with a draw. As a fan, you have to be delighted with it. And last year, that's a game you lose 3-0. Honestly.
Well, and they did.
And they did, exactly. So, and I looked at the stats, super similar from both the playoff game and that game, and just breaking it all down, the team has improved massively under Phil Neville, and I can't say enough about him.
I think a big impact last game was we finally, finally a season only a few games old, but for the first time this season, we saw Lewis Morgan. Like, it was the first time since last year that we saw him flying down that right side, stretch passes. The only knock I have on Morgan to this point, and I could be off here, but just from my perspective, I feel like his corner kick, and maybe that's strategy, they've been short. So many of them have been coming up short, out of the box, easy clears, and I don't know if there's something they're trying to do or if that's on Morgan because he's kind of their set-piece guy. But on the whole, finally, we saw this little speedy dude making something happen. I think that was a big part of why they were able to get out of Nashville with the draw.
Yeah, I said after the first half, like, that was the best we've seen Morgan all season.
Yeah.
Like, right away, you can tell that Lewis Morgan, I guess, is back. And with the corner kicks, just to wrap it up really quickly, I think it is tactical because before Inter Miami played a game, I was watching Fort Lauderdale CF, and they want to keep their tactics from the top team to the bottom team, fluid, and they want to everything needs to be in line. And the first thing I noticed on corner kicks was they always had a man run to the near post to either decoy for another defender or for whatever it was, and everything is going near post on these corner kicks. And then I saw the same exact routine happen in the Miami games, and I think that they're trying to find a front post man, but I'd rather corner kicks beat the front post man and get to headers like Shawcross or LGP or even Higuain for that matter. Like, get him to the near or get him past the front man so you can find a header either at the back post or in the middle of the box.
Yeah, I feel like that when it comes to corner kicks, and again, I'm not an expert, nearly like you are, but I just feel like when you send it into that 18, things can happen.
Right.
Whether it's planned or whether the ball bounces off a couple of guys, that's where things are going to happen. And you don't get those opportunities in a soccer game very often.
We might see things change, but tactically I think that it is what they're going for at this point, but it hasn't worked, so maybe things switch up. I hope they do because corner goals would be nice.
Nice, Abel. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for Chirping the Cats. You can listen to Red Card Radio coming up next with Austin Robillard. I am sure that he will be talking about Inter Miami, who will be hosting Atlanta United right here tomorrow in about 26 hours from now. So you can catch Red Card Radio next. Thank you to everybody for listening to Chirping the Cats. Thank you to Eric Erlinson for joining me, and thank you to Abel for hitting all the right buttons. Everybody, until next week, go Panthers and stay cool.
This is the official home of Inter Miami CF.
Higuain will now take. His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com. Follow us on social media at Onside Radio.
Hey, it's Big O for EJD Construction, your custom home builder, additions and home remodeling. Our lives have changed. We're making our homes more of an oasis. Call the right place. Call the right people. Eric at EJD Construction for over 16 years. A-rated member of Angie's List in the Better Business Bureau. 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
If you're looking for a change from the everyday restaurant, then you need to get to Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach. Brats, Wiener Schnitzel, homemade potato pancakes, pretzels with mustard, and lots of German beer. And with daily specials, there is something for everyone. If you're up for a challenge, you should take their famous boot tour. Finish 30 boots of different varieties of German beer, and you'll receive half price on their beer for life. And you'll get to take home your own boot and Checkers Old Munchin t-shirt. They also have outdoor seating available in their new beer garden with live music, as well as carry-out, curbside pickup, and delivery. So, for the finest German food and beer, get over to 2209 East Atlantic Boulevard in Pompano Beach. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Checkers Old Munchin Restaurant, or call them for reservations at 954-785-7565. That's 954-785-7565. We'll see you at Zagat Rated Checkers Old Munchin German Restaurant in Pompano Beach.